everybody. Today we're gonna dry some eggshells from our chickens, and that way we can just feed them right back to them. No waste. I know there's controversy whether or not to do it, but here in this house, that's what we do, because if we put these in the compost pile, then they take a long time to break down. They are beneficial to the compost pile, but I don't always like to see it in the compost, if that makes sense. So since we have the chickens and the chickens will eat them, they do need calcium. But the debate is whether or not this is too quick of a processing calcium as opposed to the oyster shells, which is a slow release kind of source of calcium. So regardless, the chickens love them. Every time I put them out, they gobble them up. But this is what we do. We keep them in a mason jar in the refrigerator as we use them. Once the mason jar gets full, then I take my cookie sheet, old cookie sheet, not the cutest, parchment paper, now typically with the parchment paper, I will reuse this numerous times. The one that I just finished using, I used probably 8 to 10 times before it started getting holes in it. As you bake it, it becomes more fragile, so I'm getting a new one today. And all I do is preheat the oven to 250 degrees, and I place the eggshells on the cookie sheet, on the parchment paper. Sometimes you gotta stick your hand in there and get them out. They get stuck. And then I take the time to pull them apart. Now again, people do this different ways. I choose, well, I'll say this. When I first started doing it, I would take the time to wash each and every shell and get all of the egg whites out and all of the, you know, all the stuff inside the egg. Like, I would wash all of that out and the egg white. But now I don't take the time to do that. Yes, it does turn a little brown inside the eggshell, and some of the eggshells, you know, they'll have it on the outside, so they'll be discolored. But it's just the egg white getting warmed up. So that's your choice whether or not you want to take the time to rinse them. I found myself doing this 1 to 2 times a week. So I decided about a month ago that I was not going to take the time to rinse them. So, like I said, just making sure all of them are individual, taking them apart so that they can dry in the oven individually. Some of them are still attached, like this one, that's fine. Feel free to break them apart if you want. Yeah, that is the gist of it. See if I can get this one out. This one's pretty stuck. We're just gonna leave that one. All right, so that's what it looks like after you get them pulled apart. All right, be sure to wash your hands because you don't want to get egg stuff everywhere. And then once your oven preheats to 250, you just stick these right in and you're going to bake them. Well, not necessarily bake them, but dry them out for a good 15 minutes. Once the 15-minute mark hits, I turn off the oven and I leave these in. They just end up cooling inside the oven. So from that point on, sometimes I'll leave them in overnight if I do this in the evening, or just throughout the day. Once they've cooled down, I'll show you the next step.
All right, these are what the eggshells look like after you take them out of the oven. And again, they've just been sitting in there cooling down. You'll see that the egg whites kind of turn brown. That has nothing to do with what the chickens like and do not like. Like I said, they gobble these things up every time we put them out. So what I'm doing here is crushing them up into not too big and not too little pieces. I read in an article somewhere on the internet that if they are too tiny, that the chickens won't have anything to do with them. They just kind of bypass them. But if you leave them kind of medium to large size, they are more prone to eating them. So I just kind of mush them up with my hands, like crushing them in my palm, and then I'll lay them all out and push down with my fingertips, and that tends to give a pretty good texture. From there, I just put them in the mason jar and put the lid on top, and this lives on our counter by the sink. So whenever our jar in the fridge gets filled, I'm just reminded to go ahead and bake those and get them taken care of. Alright, well that's all there is to it. I hope that this helped you, and I hope that maybe you'll implement it in your household. Hope you have a great rest of your day.